Hi everybody, this is a second module, classification theory. I am Dr. M. Prashanta Kumari, Assistant Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. So in this module, classification theory, I am going to discuss the first topic, library classification. So in this slide, first let us discuss what is classification. Classification is a mental act and a logical process. It goes on every moment of life, knowingly or unknowingly. So as we know that it's a classification is in general, classification is a mental act. It involves a logical process and it also goes on our every daily moment of life, knowingly or unknowingly. So everybody follows classification and also everybody knows classification. And classification is a process of grouping of similar or like entities. And coming to next slide, a postman also classifies postal items for his efficient and timely delivery. And for quick, efficient and easy delivery, a postal items is sorted, that is classified many times at different stages between posting and delivery. So a postman also uses classification for his effective, timely and efficient delivery of letters or postal items. So those are sorted or classified and he distributed those letters or parcels for his speedy delivery. And coming to next example, a fruit seller also, he sorts his fruits into categories. So for example, there are so many categories like oranges, apples, grapes and so on. So further each group, say of apples, they are also further sorted into species, say Kashmiri apples, Simla apples, golden apples and green apples, etc. So fruit seller also classifies fruits according to their quantity or quality. A vendor sorts each species by quality and price. At every step of grouping, the sorter is adding value to the items. Thus, classification is a value knowingly, deliberately or unconsciously. So coming to next slide. So we can say that in this slide, what is the definition of library classification? So far we have discussed the general statement of or the general definition of classification. So here we can discuss what is the definition of library classification. So it has been defined as the arrangement of books and other reading materials on the shelves or entries in a classified catalog in a way that is helpful to the majority of users. So this definition has been given by the author Maltby 1975. So what Maltby says, according to him, the classification is the arrangement of books and other reading materials on the shelves. So as we all know that the library is a collection of books and other reading materials. So the classification defines the arrangement of books or says the arrangement of books as well as other reading materials on the shelves or the entries in a classified catalog, which is helpful to the majority of users. The very purpose of library is to satisfy or to help the majority of users. Thereby, the library arranges its books and other reading materials on the shelves in a way that is helpful to the majority of users. It is known as the library classification. And coming to the next definition, according to Ranganathan. So you all know that Ranganathan is the father of Indian library science. So according to Ranganathan, library classification is the translation of the name of the subject into preferred artificial language of ordinary numbers. So Ranganathan translated the name of the subject into some preferred language or ordinary numbers. Thereby, it is known as the library classification. In simple terms, we can say that according to Ranganathan, library classification is nothing but the translation of the name of the subject into some language of ordinary numbers. So coming to there are next slide, there are libraries are mostly arranged by disciplines divided into subjects, though different types of collections are arranged in different ways. So this slide depicts that the libraries have different types of collections. Those are arranged, those collections are arranged in different ways. So what are the different types of collections or collections in libraries are? They are current periodicals. They are arranged alphabetically by title, and there are also other reading materials like maps, CDs, pamphlets, photographs. So the all require different and separate arrangements. So here every reading material or each reading material has its own arrangements of classification. So here we can say that in the library there are different types of materials, and each and every material requires separate arrangement. So here we can say that there is a classificationist. So who is a classificationist? Simply I gave the definition here. The designer of a classification scheme is known as classificationist. So here who is a classificationist? So who designs a classification scheme is known as classificationist. So there are so many classificationists. So we know that for example, Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, he is a classificationist because he designed a classification scheme which is known as colon classification. And another person, Melville Dewey, he is also a classificationist. He designed the scheme which is known as Dewey Decimal classification. So here there is one more definition for classifier. Who is a classifier? So operating a classification system to assign class numbers to documents in a library is called a classifier. So in simple terms we can say that who is a classifier means classifier is the person who assigns class numbers to documents in a library. So he is the classifier. So in this slide we know that there are different collections of reading materials, and we can also discuss the classificationist, the who is classificationist, and here we also discussed about classifier. So who is a classificationist and who is a classifier? There is a little difference between classificationist as well as a classifier. Coming to next slide. So in this slide we can discuss importance of library classification. So we are all saying that library classification and it's an important tool. So why the importance of library classification? So let us discuss. The first point here is classification is vital to library services. So we can say that it is very important services. Classification is a very important or significant services in a library. And classification is to a library as a skeleton is to human body on which all the body organs rest. So here we are comparing classification with a human body and skeleton. So here classification is a skeleton in which in the human body on which all the body organs rest. So that's why the human body and skeleton both are very important as well as to classification as library. So in a library classification serves all the functions, namely. So here we can say that the library classification performs many functions. So what are the functions? It is a tool of management. It helps knowledge creation. It also helps in collection development. We can say that classification is a tool of management. It acts as a tool to run or to function a library. It is helpful in the management of a library, and also it helps knowledge creation, and it also helps in collection development. So this is the importance of library classification. And also there are different laws of library science. Those are known as 5 laws of library science, which are formulated by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan. These laws are also supported library classification, and they have some specific limited implications to design effective classification systems to serve the users. So the 5 laws of library science, which are formulated by Ranganathan, they also support library classification. Without classification, a library is an unorganized dump of books. Therefore, without it, the full value of a library collection cannot be obtained. So we can say that without classification, the library looks like an unorganized dump. There is no organized way of organized arrangement of books. It looks like an unorganized dump of books. Therefore, without it, without the classification, the full value of a library collection cannot be obtained. So this is library classification. Simply we discussed what is a general classification and what is library classification. We can discuss. We discussed the definitions given by Maltby and Ranganathan and importance of classification. So in the next part we can discuss another aspects of library classification. Thank you.